Now, you and I have spent so much time the last few months psychoanalyzing Aaron Rodgers from a distance without really any information. Now we have all of the information, at least as far as he's concerned. What were your biggest takeaways from what he said?
So, first of all, I loved it, and I appreciate the honesty, and I appreciate where he said, they're coming here to play with me, and that's true. And he believes that he deserves more power. I think it's one thing that we should point out is when Aaron Rodgers won his first Super Bowl, Brian Gutekunst was a scout, and that's essentially at the bottom of the front office pyramid. And Brian Gutekunst is now the general manager. So I imagine it's very hard for somebody like Aaron Rodgers to have been a part of all the success that they've had there, had all the personal success. And then when they're making decisions for this organization, a guy who was the scout, and Gutekunst deserves to be the GM. He's doing a good job at the GM job so far, with the exception of upsetting Aaron Rodgers. As far as filling that roster out, he's done a great job. But I don't think that changes the respect factor. And oftentimes we talk about players wanting more money in these situations. And somehow this situation is slightly different because Aaron Rodgers wants to make his team better. But to me, it's the same. Because a lot of those guys who want more money, it's more about the respect that comes with that money. It's being treated like someone, or being valued like close to what your value is on the field. And I think this is the same thing. It's not about money necessarily, but it's still about respect. He wants the respect of being able to have those people come to him and ask him what he thinks they should do with this team that he's helped carry, frankly, for his time there.
Well, so you've played in your career with multiple legendary players, all-time great players, not necessarily quarterbacks, but I'm thinking of Ray Lewis and Ed Reed in particular. In your experience, do those guys get more of that? Does the front office, do the coaches, do they lean on them more? Did he deserve more respect, I think is what I'm trying to ask you.
Yeah, those guys didn't necessarily, but Ozzie Newsome, probably the best general manager in the history of football, was the guy who drafted all of them, and he was the GM for all intents and purposes when he drafted them, and the GM until all of them retired. So I think it's a different situation, and they were winning Super Bowls. It was another organization that was well run, and they were filling up the roster. Ozzie was doing a good job, so I think their situations are a little bit different in that it wasn't a scout that came up and took over the organization while they were standing there. I imagine it would feel different if it was some other guy who, when they got there, Ozzie was already the man. He had already established himself as not only a Hall of Fame player, but also a Hall of Fame level executive. So I think this situation is different. And I also think this time is different. As much as we talk about player empowerment coming to the NFL, it's not fully there yet, but it's getting closer. And I think Aaron Rodgers having that press conference pushed us a little bit closer to having that point where guys in the NFL, at least quarterbacks, can behave the same way that superstars in the NBA do.
All right, so Brian Gutekunst is having a press conference as we speak, talking about the acquisition of Randall Cobb. I'm having information relayed to me. Apparently, he just said they acquired Randall Cobb because Aaron Rodgers wanted them to. We will turn around some of those sound bites as quickly as we can. Meanwhile, Nick, I have two more questions I want to ask you. First off, do you believe that all of the things that have happened, now he's there, however he is feeling, he's there and he didn't really miss anything of consequence. All the things that have happened, will they have any impact on that team's ability to win a Super Bowl this year?
Yeah, I don't see them having an impact partially because of that press conference. Aaron made it quite clear that it's not about money, it's about winning. And I think the fans can find a way to get behind Aaron Rodgers because all he was saying is, I'm trying to recruit better players and I'm trying to keep our best players. And so he is essentially defending the guys that are on his roster. I think that kind of goes over well in the locker room. And there's always, quite honestly, in a locker room, there's always a us versus them mentality. And depending on how big that circle is, you can decide who the us is and who the them is. And on most teams, frankly, front office is them. Front office is who's cutting people. Front office is who's not paying you enough. Front office is not the guys who are out on the field sweating or getting injured and all that stuff. So we often think about the front office as them. So I don't think that having any type of tension between Aaron Rodgers in the locker room and the front office is going to have a negative impact on this team. Now, if someone on the team interpreted Aaron Rodgers' comments as saying that they aren't good enough, that they let their good players go, and now you got me stuck here with these bums, then that could be an issue. But I don't think that's how they'll interpret it.
I don't either. It didn't feel that way. It didn't feel like he was suggesting that. Very, very quickly, Domonique. Now we're into the area of guessing, because he did leave the door open to the possibility of it continuing beyond this season. So right now, where we sit right now, will Aaron Rodgers be the starting quarterback of the Green Bay Packers week 1 of next year, of 22?
Wow, we are jumping. Let's enjoy this season, Mike. I'm gonna go ahead and say no. I think that he wants that Tom Brady experience. I think everyone watched that and saw how fun that was, and I think Aaron Rodgers would thoroughly enjoy that. So I'm gonna go ahead and say no.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.